What's good, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy Cheats here. This is the Black Baseball Mixtape, and we are in Philadelphia at the Perfect Game All-American Classic. This is a marquee Perfect Game event, but I've got a very special guest. You've seen him on the mixtape twice.
Yes,
You've never seen him in person. This is the first time we're doing this in person.
Now you got me tired and sweaty.
Yeah, it's the first time I'm able to spend some time with none other than Kash Shaikh. Really, really excited. This is new for you. This is a new role for you.
Yes.
And let's just start there. Last time we saw you, the first two times you've been on the mixtape, you were zigzagging all across the world, literally globally with Baseball United.
Right.
You're one of the founding kind of partners, and what is still an ongoing, very ambitious operation.
Right.
You decided to switch gears a little bit, take a step back.
Yep.
You landed here at Perfect Game.
Yep.
Talk to me a little bit about that transition. Obviously, you're extremely proud of the work that you do with Baseball United. But now you have a new mission. What is that mission, and how did it come about?
Yeah, well, man, awesome to see you as always.
Always great to see you,
and love the work you guys continue to do. But yeah, it's been a whirlwind. Yeah. You know, within the last 6-7 months, we went from having an amazing season in Dubai last year. Our first full season had 100 million viewers on our broadcast. Had an amazing champion with our Mideast Falcons team. Yeah. And honestly, after that, I was not planning to do anything different. At that point, I was like, damn, we just crushed it.
And let's not gloss over the fact that you built an entire stadium.
Built a stadium
in like a month.
Yeah. built a stadium
like 34 days or
39 days. Yeah. We built the stadium and built the whole ecosystem from scratch. I mean, so that 4 years of my life will be imprinted in my soul for a long time. And so many great people that we work with, as you know, 20 MLB legends that invested in the league. I was a founder and chairman and CEO, co-founder, chairman, CEO, and amazing experience. And then, you know, I wasn't planning on shifting, but a few different things happened. One, I really felt like to grow out there, we couldn't just do a month or two season and just drop in for 2 months out of 12 months and leave and drop. Like we needed to build a youth infrastructure, an amateur pipeline, you know, to really bring a fan base. Because what I saw in the early days in Dubai of 2023, where it was exciting, it was almost a novelty for fans to see baseball out there. But when you're talking about a whole season playing every day, 7 days a week, it's hard to get folks out to the ballpark. And I feel like we needed to create more of that infrastructure. And, you know, some people, I think, felt the same way as me as part of our work. Some people felt differently. Yeah. And I actually started really looking at the Perfect Game model for the last couple of years as a potential, to take over there. I met Rob Ponger, the CEO of Perfect Game, a couple of years ago, and felt connected to him, from the jump, and was like looking at the model of data and database and scouting and analytics and a platform and saying, how can we take this overseas? And long story short, after the season, I got connected with Rob again, and there was an opportunity, as we were talking about, hey, what can we do overseas? And PG almost invested in my league, a couple years ago. And, Rob was kind of like, hey, why don't, instead of you go try to take this model with what you're building, why don't you come help us build it? And it was kind of a unforeseen but exciting opportunity to join PG. And, we also had an opportunity with guys on at Baseball United who wanted to take over or kind of like, run a bit more, become more of the face. I've been like the face of the league for a while. So long story short, man, in February, I sold my ownership officially February 28th. I left my role at BU. Still have some, a lot of good friends, obviously got great relationships and a lot of love for what we built. And I'm hoping that they can continue to grow build upon what we built the last 4 years. April 28th, I started a Perfect Game. So it took 2 months, with the fan, and then it's been off to the races. And PG is the number one competitive youth baseball platform in the world. 100,000 teams, 10,000 plus events, a couple million kids playing in our system every year. largest scouting platform, the number one brand in competitive youth baseball. Really been focused on the U.S. I came on board as our chief marketing officer as well as our head of international. So growing the brand.
Okay, so what does that mean?
So
I understand the title. What does that mean?
So on the marketing side, obviously everything from our creative, our content, our social media, obviously partnering with a lot of great leaders at Perfect Game already, but building the brand, expanding the brand awareness, getting more people to understand Perfect Game, like the journey that you're on with this weekend of like, okay, there's so many tournaments, but how do they fit together? What's the pathway? How do they connect? Which tournament's best for my kid or my son? Expanding into new verticals, softball in the near future in a big way. Yeah, I mean, our partnerships, our sponsorships, bringing the right brands into the ecosystem. As you know, I've been buying and selling sponsorship my whole career, 25 years. And I've never seen a more like sticky, passionate, engaged audience than you have in youth sports, particularly in travel baseball, because you got multiple generations at the ballpark, at the games watching. You've got, grandfather, grandmother, parents, players, younger siblings. You've got all these people that are focused on their favorite player, favorite athlete, which is their son or their daughter on the field. And there's a lot of opportunities for brands, because you think about, a travel tournament is a 3 to 5 day experience where you're booking flights, or you're going on road trips, you're staying in hotels, you're eating team dinners, like so many ways to authentically integrate, brands into it. So that's a big part. And then international, building an international model.
Now, does Perfect Game have an international model today, or no?
No, we don't have. We haven't had a model. We've had affiliates doing some really good work in pockets of the world. But what I've been putting together is a lot of what I learned at Baseball United, building great country partnerships, government relations, federation partnerships, and putting a new model together where we're going to have official country partners executing a certain standard of events. Which I don't want to share too much because we're going to announce it soon.
You can break some news here. That's fine.
We'll have, basically tournaments in multiple countries, a big national showcase where we can find the best talent. And then, I got a goal of doing our own really big international amateur baseball tournament, kind of like a World Baseball Classic, but at the highest levels of amateur baseball.
So let me ask this, because there's so many ways I want to go with this, and I want to ask you a couple things before I forget. When you were looking at the Perfect Game model, you were outside of Perfect Game at Baseball United, you were looking at the Perfect Game model, and you're saying, hey, this is something maybe we can start to integrate.
Yeah.
How much did you know about PG when you started that process?
You know what? I knew about the credibility. I knew about the data and the scouting platform. I didn't know how much of a beast it was. And now, there's no way I would have been able to replicate what PG has built. I mean, this company's 30 years old. Started in Iowa as a way for high school players in Iowa to stay competitive during the springtime, because their baseball season starts later, like towards the summer in high school baseball in Iowa. And it's really, really exploded, especially the last 7-8 years with our CEO, Rob Ponger, our chairman, Rick Thurman. They've come on board and just supercharged this whole space. And the volume of events, the volume of families, the volume of organizations. We have about over 10,000 organizations, travel ball orgs, that are a part of our ecosystem. And those orgs
make you look bad?
Well, no. I mean, those orgs have anywhere from 1 to 1,000 teams.
But I'm glad you're bringing this up, because again, I think that has been so far in my 48 hours in investigating Perfect Game as an organizational structure. I feel like the comment that I often hear is that we are the basically standard bearer for travel baseball. Mm-hmm. Like Perfect Game is the biggest kind of fish in the pond.
Right.
However, that means we have to wear a lot of bruises and hits from travel ball organizations that have nothing to do with Perfect Game besides entering into a Perfect Game tournament.
Right.
So the parent that's saying, oh, this is so expensive, my kid's not playing, you're using me at 8, 9U, it may not it all kind of gets wrapped up into the words perfect game as the standard bearer of a structure that may have some flaws in it.
Yeah, I've heard a lot. All I've been doing the last 4 months is talking to parents and talking to coaches and talking to orgs. So there's a ton of positive experiences.
Sure.
Especially when you talk to parents. I was just giving a talk to the parents of our All-Americans here just before I ran into you, and the most exciting thing for them is that they spent the really entirety of the most formative years of their child's life together, experiencing something they're all passionate about, organized sports, learning great values, having great family memories, core memories and experiences. And those types of things are way bigger than anything that happens on the field. And we often lose that. I grew up playing travel ball myself. And
I didn't know you were baseball.
Yeah, basketball.
Okay.
Travel basketball.
Okay.
I had to pay for tournaments and things like that, and like,
Sure.
but it's the best memories of my childhood was going to these tournaments with my boys, experiencing, different cities, playing in Toronto, playing in Chicago. And that's that's the ecosystem that we built. So that often gets lost. We're going to start sharing a lot more of those stories, the road trips, the rituals, the relationships that happen. And then the other side of it, of what we actually enable and create, we put on tournaments,
sure,
and we put on showcases, and we also run leagues. So, and those are open depending on the different tournament. There's different tiers, there's different competitive levels. You can have a AA, a AAA, or a major tournament that you enter. So it's from an accessibility standpoint, no matter what type of team you are, there's a level and a lane for you. And those teams enter our tournaments, and obviously we try to create the best competitive atmosphere, the best experience possible for those players and coaches.
So let's because you're right, and as most the people that follow the mixtape know now, my son's 11. We're getting into this world. We understand AA and AAA and certain levels. The overall theme that we often hear is that the cost of this is of the travel ball structure. And again, I want to make a strong delineation between travel ball structure of baseball and perfect game. With that said, perfect game tournaments are in the ethos of this kind of travel ball structure. Do you think, or have you reviewed, have you seen the people that'll say it's just too expensive?
Yeah, you have some of that. But the cool thing is, you have local tournaments, you have regional tournaments, you have national tournaments, and then you have what I would call our flagship tournaments. And then you have like events like this weekend, which are invite only, all-star tournaments or all-star events. And you can play in perfect game and be a part of perfect game, but by never leaving your state. We're in 44 states now. So you can play every weekend a perfect game tournament without being part of travel ball. We have so many teams that do that. In Texas,
without having to travel.
Without having to travel, you're still part of
U.S. AAA.
Yeah, but obviously, when you're doing your premier like tournaments, you got to have them in one place, and we want the best teams in the country to come. So it's kind of it's actually not as nuanced as people may think. It's like if you never want to travel, you can play in your local tournaments at a perfect game tournament. We've got venues across the country that you can play in. If you want to go ahead and say, hey, we're just going to play in Texas, or we just want to play in the Florida regionals, you can do that as well and take a nice little road trip. You know what I mean? And like I said, it's a family experience. So the travel aspect of going to play in different cities outside of your state is typically for the more competitive tournaments where you want the best competition. So it really depends on your goals. If you're focused on, recreational, having fun, development, there's a lane for that. If you really want to play the best of the best, there's a lane for that. Baseball in general is a more expensive sport, as you know, with the equipment. That's the biggest limiting factor for accessibility. The bats and the gloves and the equipment. So, that to me is a hurdle with the sport, But beyond that, in terms of playing in the tournaments, like there's a level, there's a lane for anybody.
What is the biggest, I would say, misconception and I'm going to cut you some slack because again, Cash is new here. He is just really getting his feet wet. But I mean, you live in a world where we're often talking about this structure. We're talking about perfect game. We're talking about travel ball and all the others. What is the biggest misconception when you say the words perfect game? When you tell somebody just in the grocery store with your family, "Oh man, I'm working for a perfect game."
Yeah.
What do they get wrong?
I think everybody understands that perfect game brings together the best, teams and talent for tournaments. The people that know PG.
Yeah.
I think industry scouts, college recruiters have a very, very, very high level of respect and credibility of PG's data.
Yeah.
100% of MLB teams use our data. 100% of colleges at the D1, D2, D3, JUCO level use our data, trust our data. Having a PG profile definitely gets you exposure. That's important in the process. Is it 100% necessary? Oh, if you're a great player, it's you're going to find a way to get seen. But
you're a great player, you're probably going to end up in PG somewhere.
You're probably going to be playing PG. But also like having more opportunities.
Sure.
Because it's so competitive out there, and also it's just fun, bro. Like sometimes, like I like to, when I was growing up, I liked to play in competitive tournaments.
Sure.
You like to play, and you wanna win with your boys. So you'll see from us soon. We're going to be launching a lot more communication messaging so that people know the pathway of how our tournaments connect, where they can play if they want to never travel and they just want to play locally, how they can go from the local to regional and national level, the ranking system for teams, transparently ranking of like teams so they can like try to get better and try to grow year over year. The experience at the different events, all that is what we're going to be sharing.
You're getting to it a little bit because you really started with what people think is like what people know you get right? And so that's, I think, one of the things that you're mentioning, I think that probably people would say is clearer, is an understanding of a pathway. Like, how do I get my child to the games, like the weekends over here, like now in Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, the conversation is much bigger than perfect game in baseball around youth sports, right? The cost of youth sports. If you look around it, there's whether it's soccer, baseball, golf.
My son can't play golf. He can't afford golf.
Yeah, look, there's it's different than even when we were growing up, right? But like the way that I believe you make it more accessible, at least from our standpoint, is to create more access points for teams and for players to sign up. We're launching something, and we have already launched in many states, where if you're an individual that doesn't have a team and you want to play in a tournament, you can sign up for one of our events, and we'll put you on a team. Which gives kids more access and opportunities. And we have different, obviously at the high school level, we have showcases that enable you to get your numbers, get your data out there, which are critical. Every MLB team, we were just talking with the Phillies an hour ago, they're looking at your numbers. They're looking at your velo.
These are metrics. These are analytic baseball metrics.
Yes, your exit velocity, your velocity if you're a pitcher, your pop time if you're a catcher, your 60 if you're from a speed standpoint, and all that.
I don't want you to raise that point, because I think what a lot of folks don't understand is a great divider in player assessment. It's those baseball metric analytics. And one of the biggest differences between, quote unquote, the have and the have-nots is if you talk about the top D1 programs in the SEC or Clemson, they all have them. They all have the, what's the track mans. Right. Yeah. But if you go to the lower level schools, possibly a D2 school, maybe a HBCU, they may not have them. And the fact that, and it's a big, I talked to Ricky Weeks from the Milwaukee Brewers, who's in their front office now, was saying that's a big difference. Like having that data is what the scouts look at. And you already mentioned, like the scouts look at all the PG data. Yeah. Because a lot of these top level tournaments have those types of products and metrics.
Yeah. And all that's becoming more accessible too with AI and the new, I see so many things across my desk already, new platforms, new hardware, software, so you can get the data, more scale to more locations, more venues, more colleges. But yeah, I mean, our tournaments are where you go to compete, obviously against other teams. Our showcases is where you go as an individual to get all your data, and all that goes onto your PG profile, and that's what scouts are looking at, and that's what other coaches are looking at. That's what other teams, if you want to advance through the system. So it's to me, it's an awesome opportunity for people. I wish I had it when I was growing up. Somewhere.
I don't wish I had it. They thought I was fast. I was not. I would have proven me wrong.
It's like like a digital, baseball card, basically, with the numbers and analytics behind it, which is important because that's what the teams are looking for. Of course, they're also looking at your character, your makeup, your values, all that stuff, your toughness, and that comes with more of the eye test and more of the art than the science of the numbers. But that's what we try to provide at PG.
One of the biggest things that I think I hear from parents, even I've heard over the weekend, is understanding the rankings. That's the one thing. They're like, look, Cheat, I'm going to tell you the truth, Cheats. Perfect Game has been great to our family. Perfect Game has been great to our child. We're here. We've been traveling all over. We love it. I still couldn't tell you about the rankings. I don't understand the rankings.
Which rankings?
The PG rankings, when they're ranking like number one player in class of 2027.
Yeah.
It's
the same thing, man. It's just like the MLB Power rankings.
But it's important because these, like you said, every college coach in the nation knows if you're a top 10 player in Perfect Game rankings, right?
Yeah. I mean, we have the largest scouting organization in all of amateur baseball. We got a bigger scouting department than many MLB teams. Full-time scouting department.
Do you have an analytics section or no?
We do. Yeah, it's part of our. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Our scouts, who are some of the best in the industry, are the ones that put our rankings together. And it's interesting because it's not just about how a kid, especially at the younger levels, it's not necessarily only about how they're performing from the past, but how they're projecting. Because in the youth space, sometimes physical development can be a lead factor of why one player is doing better than his peers who haven't got to that physical maturity yet. So sometimes you start to project when physical development starts to become more equal, or at least more on the same playing field. How will someone project with their mechanics, with their skill set? So our scouts, man, they spend a lot of time in it. And the guys that do this, this is what they love. This is their passion. They've been doing it for years and years and years and years. That's how our player rankings are. Our team rankings are, and especially what we're going to be coming out soon, are going to be much more of like an algorithmic approach where your performance at different events will dictate your rankings, just like the WBSC, just like FIFA. So the team rankings is much more about that. I would say it's much more science.
I think there's already a little bit of that, right? There's teams that if they're too good, they get promoted to a higher league. If they're bad, they get regulated to in certain levels, right? Of these like
PG, no, not.
Okay, I was like, there's some, I guess, orgs where it's like, if you're. I'm a AA team, but I'm beating everyone 30-0. It's like, no, you got to go to AAA and play. You can't just sit there and win AA tournaments all the time.
Well, you can. I mean, the orgs typically decide that. They decide that. Like you'll have it. Like I said, you have some orgs have one team, some have 1,000 teams.
Right.
And multiple teams, multiple age levels, usually from 8 to 18. So they'll be moving people, kind of having a national team, having a prospect team, all that type of stuff.
How much? Because I was using this analogy in my writing earlier, where I'm like, from what I'm understanding, especially over the last 48 hours or so, and it'll continue, that I look in many ways like PG is a bit of like, if you're looking at college football, and there's a lot going on in the news in college football.
Right.
PG is like the SEC and Big Ten combined, but PG is not the NCAA. The NCAA is we would think of as like a larger travelable structure. If you guys are kind of the biggest influences within the structure, but you're not necessarily setting all the rules or regulating the rules in that sense.
Right.
You do for the PG tournaments and things of that nature. With that said, you may disagree with the premise, but with that said, how much should a perfect game kind of work to influence the entire travel ball structure?
Well, it's work we're already doing. and it's work that we're going to do more of. From a sanctioning standpoint, from a permitting standpoint, everything from the bats that are used through the regulations for
what do you think about
different
that?
team play.
The bet change rule, the high school bet change, much ado about nothing.
I think I think
you're using drop five.
Drop five, drop six. Yeah, I mean, there definitely needs to be a standard operating procedure across tournaments and across age groups. And it's different across age groups, right? So I think and that's something that we're actively already involved in.
Like you're looking at all of it. When you see these changes come down, you have the departments that are like, is this going to help?
We have if we come out with something, obviously it's going to affect the industry, right? Because we have 10,000 tournaments, a year plus 10,000 plus. So, but all those things we take our time with and really, dig into. And like I said, and like you said, I mean, I've only been here a few months, but I've been so amazed with how deep our team goes into all those things, because our goal is literally to enable people to become the best version of themselves, of their teams, to develop, give people a platform, give these kids a platform, give families an opportunity to share experiences that they may not have been able to share. And it's cool. And this weekend is a perfect example of it. I mean,
this week has been phenomenal. This week has been phenomenal. I've already said it. I've said it on record. It's like it's hard for me to judge the system by watching the Super Bowl or the All-Star game or the World Series. Right. I've got to dig deeper into like some of the local stuff. Yeah. But like I said, this weekend has been. This weekend is awesome.
This is. I wouldn't call this a Super Bowl, but it's the All-Star of our high school level.
Maybe an All-Star game. Right? Yeah. Like the Pro Bowl.
Yeah. Exactly. But to me, and this is awesome because you got the best 60 high school players in the country, and you've got every one of these guys is going to go play the next level. And, for these families, it's like the ultimate experience for them before they go to the next level. And you're playing at a big league ballpark. But to me, the most fun is going out to our tournaments where you have hundreds of teams. You come out to our WWPAs, our World Wood Bat championships, World Championships in October. That'll be a whole different vibe. You're going to see like 300, 400 teams. You're going to see different age groups. You're going to see like the passion from like the moms who come out there color coordinated with their turtle box, walk up songs. And you're going to see, coaches that love this, even though they have a day job and they got a lot of responsibilities, but they're putting so much time, energy, and effort into it. And they're dedicating their lives to helping these kids have great experiences. I mean, that's what's awesome. And what you'll see there is you'll see a ton of, depending on the tournaments you go to, you'll see different levels of play. Sure. You'll see a ton of diversity. Like we were talking about earlier, I believe we've got 25 to 30% of our rosters are African American players.
So obviously there's only 2 teams here, 30 players on each team. It's a lot of representation for minorities, African Americans. Yeah. There's a lot more than people think, because a lot more than people think. The East team, by my count, had like 14 of their 30 on the East team as African American players.
Yeah, and because we talked about it before. Like when I started Baseball United with Barry Larkin, we wanted to give more opportunities to black players, because at that time it was about 6% of MLB was black players. Yep. And now, and we're in that 20 to 30% at our All-Star and flagship. So it's significantly more. If you go to our all of our tournaments, I don't have the exact numbers, but my gut is in the 40 to 50% level for a lot of our big tournaments. So to me, it kind of speaks to the shift in the access that's already happening.
With that said, I'm going to let you get out of here, Cash, and we'll have two more things. One thing is just an outlook and a projection. Again, you're coming on, you're meeting people every day, you're learning the process of what you're learning parts about the organization right. As we go through. Now, with the role, obviously chief marketing operator, international focus as well, but also learning about bringing this up. Project it out for me. If you had, kind of really good success, what does the next 3, 4, 5 years look like at Perfect?
Oh man, 3, 4, 5 years, man. I haven't looked that far in a long time, but I'll say
First of all, that's not true.
Yeah.
Kash Shaikh looks like 10, 15. I know the type. He's 10, 15 years in the future.
Well, I have a tighter time goals on myself. So I'd say in a couple years, you're going to see perfect game tournaments in at least 10 countries. I'm already, between us, I already got 6 that we're about to announce soon. So that is going to step change amateur baseball internationally. Might go knock on the door in Dubai and shake up our boys at Baseball United and say, hey, there's a new baseball brand in town called Perfect Game. So, but really, there's so many great markets. Look, Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Curacao. I was just talking to those guys. China, Japan, Korea, Canada, Australia, Mexico. I mean, so many. Anywhere you see those WBC teams, we're talking to them. So that's going to happen for sure. That's 100% happening in the next 12 months. I think you're going to see a lot more non-endemic brands a part of Perfect Game.
What does that mean?
Non-baseball brands. So you're going to see, because it's such a lifestyle experience. With these tournaments, like I said, if you think about this weekend, I think you'll see more food companies, more consumer products companies like my old, Tide detergent, things like that. You're going to see a lot of brands like that in the space because they see how close-knit the community is. And I think you're going to see a lot clearer, like we've been talking about, articulation of the PG system, the PG pathway, the PG rankings, the levels of competition. All that to me is happening in the next six months.
You're an innovative thinker. You always have been. What's funner for you, thinking about innovation within baseball or beyond baseball?
Oh, it's a great question.
I try.
I just like to, for personally, as you know me, it's like I like to build really cool things, big things with good people, and people that are passionate about what they do, and something that I'm passionate about doing. And, I have passions beyond baseball. Sports in general is just a massive passion, but baseball has always been, as you know, one of my core passions. And to be able to build that with an elite team that we have here at Perfect Game, and be able to impact the whole industry with what we do is an awesome opportunity, awesome responsibility. So I'm looking forward to growing this thing with our team even bigger, creating more opportunities, creating a fan experience too at our tournaments. I think that's a huge opportunity for us. When you come to a PG event, I want you to know that, oh wow, we are, at the gold standard of baseball tournaments, by how the event is branded, by the temperature of the water bottles that we're handing out or selling, for the food, the concessions, the music, all that. It's the biggest thing I learned out in Dubai, because we had to have people come to baseball games that didn't know anything about baseball, didn't even know first base and second base. Right. And I always tell people here, they're like, hey, how are you going to get people out? I'm like, dude, we got people out in the desert to come watch baseball. They had no idea what it was, but they came for the experience.
That's amazing.
And so that's a huge focus of mine moving forward.
Last question. I want you to shake it out. It's going to be a personal question.
All right.
So steady yourself. Because I say that because you may not know this, but I want to say I lost my mom around the same time you lost your dad. And it was obviously the situation for our family was pretty gut-wrenching.
Right.
But, now I'm looking forward and processing and doing these things. I often have fond memories about what I've learned from my mother.
Right.
I know one of the things, you didn't mention all of this, but one of the things you said earlier was at least coming back stateside, being here, you can spend a lot more time with your family.
Right.
And, be around that.
Right.
Smile and tell me, just what did you learn from your father? What do you take and what do you transfer that to your children?
Man, well, first of all, losing my dad was the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life. Obviously, it was a surprise how it happened, as you know, and just a lot of things about it were gut wrenching. and that shifted my whole mentality about life, honestly, when that happened. It happened right after, like, we had built a ballpark and had a great tournament in Dubai, and I was like kind of on top of the world, exhausted on top of the world. And then like a month later, my dad was gone, and he was my biggest fan. Like, he always was my biggest fan on anything, any social media post, you see my dad on there. And that's really how we connected, his support of me. So when losing him, still, it's just a void you never can replace. And in that year of 2024, though, I experienced the highs and lows because my son was born in 2024. So literally, skin to skin with my son when he was born. And then, without getting too much detail, pretty much a similar thing with my dad when he passed. And so that whole thing just shifted my mindset, because before, Cheats, I was always about building, grow, entrepreneurship,
move fast, break things.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Sure.
Building companies, being successful, not making impact and making money. But when that happened, I definitely started thinking things differently. Probably was the first piece of me saying, do I want to keep being out here in Dubai with my family's, 16-hour flight away? 5,000 miles away, and I don't see him for months at a time. That's when it started shifting. I probably knew in my heart at that point that I was going to try to come back to the States, honestly. And then, like I said, things happened. We had a good season, had an offer to sell my ownership of the league. And if my dad was still here, maybe I wouldn't have. So all that kind of led me here to be closer to family. Now I'm in Texas, close to my family. But, my dad taught me about unconditional support, how important that matters. Different a little bit than unconditional love, because I think unconditional love, it's there, but you may not see it or feel it all the time. Unconditional support to me is the intentional, like, hey, I'm going to say, great job on that, or I'm proud of you on that, or, comment on something that you weren't working on or something. And my dad was great at that. And, the other thing is, again, I could talk about my dad forever, but, when he passed, he did a lot of things in his life, but everybody, it's almost cliche, but everybody would talk about how nice of a person he was. How thoughtful he was, how funny he was, and it just kind of made you rethink a little bit what's important, and what your legacy is. And, I started thinking more, my legacy, because I pissed a lot of people off trying to breathe fire to build, baseball in different countries. But I started thinking, like, relationships are more important. My son is more important, so all that had a huge impact. And it's also why I wanted to do more at the amateur level than the professional level, because I felt like we could and I could help make more of an impact here,
Well, that's beautiful. And you're right. My mom worked her entire life and retired, and I remember, obviously, she passed in 24 as well. And no one came to me and was like, man, she was a hell of an employee.
Right, exactly.
No, she's the nicest, kindest, always supportive of family.
Yeah.
And it is a powerful testament, right, to the family that you are now leading and raising and so forth, to be able to look back and say, man, if I may do certain things differently, but if I do half the job that my parents did, then I'm on the right track.
Exactly.
Cash Shaikh, perfect game.
Appreciate you, man.
Oh,
thank you, man.
Thank
Always
you.
great to see you, dude.
It's the Black Baseball Mixtape. We'll catch you next time.